us. So for all those people that are in different time zones or that wanted to come and didn't quite make it, I'm recording, so welcome. And welcome to all of you that are here. It's beautiful to see you. For those of you that don't know me, and I'm seeing lots of new faces, my name is Beata Fuller, and I've been with Natural Success for, it feels like my whole life, but I haven't. And that's the beautiful thing about this work, right? That when we get into it, it really feels like it's stuff that, oh yeah, I knew that. I've been doing this my whole life. I've been using this, and the times that I've created something, I can see how I've used this structure, the alchemical structure. And the times that things have gone haywire and I've created chaos, I can absolutely see how I've used the egoic structure. So here we are. Let's have, just while there's still a few people coming in, let's have a couple of shares just to bring us all into the room and to kind of connect, you know, in this space, because some of you have met each other in trainings. Some of you have met each other because you've been in the Natural Success community for quite some time, but some of you don't know each other, and it's always beautiful to just create this space. So the topic today is relationships and magic. So I'd love to hear, first of all, what are you getting out of the training so far? You know, whatever you've done, whether you've just finished Creative Warrior, anyone in Mastery, anyone doing like Mastery right now? No. All right. So, you know, whether you've just finished Creative Warrior last month, or whether, oh yeah, one hand up, or whether you've been here for a couple of years, I'd love to know what have you created, or what are some of the things that you've created since you started with Natural Success, especially in relation to relationships. And I'm not talking about, you know, I've got my Prince Charming on my wonderful mermaid, but how have things shifted for you since you've started with Natural Success? Let's just have a couple of shares. Jason and Judy. Okay, Jason first.
Yeah, hi, Beata. Yeah, I could spend an hour talking about it, but I won't. I'll just do it very, very, very quickly. So yeah, I finished Creative Warrior, and it is about what I've created, but it's also about what I've let go. Because in what I've let go, that's opened me to what was always there, but I didn't want to see. So for myself, what's dropping in is my work, you know, what's true for me to do in this world, and it's really becoming clearer. And funnily enough, it's, you know, to work with guys just like I was, you know, 2 years, 3 years ago. But I didn't want to see that, because are there enough of me? You know, are there enough of me who feel connected to a higher truth and who want to live in service to that truth, and who are blocked and who are lost? You know, are there enough of me out there that I can find? But that's not the question that a powerful creator asks. You know, and in dropping that egoic agenda, yeah, it's just become true that's where the resonance is. And so in terms of relationships, it's all kinds of things. I mean, Karen helped me enormously, because she pointed out to me the obvious, which was that I had a wound with the masculine. So a relationship change there is a relationship change with myself, stepping fully into the embodied masculine, which allows me to then step into the capacity to create, which Karen pointed out to me that I wasn't, you know, that I wasn't manifesting, I wasn't living that capacity to create. So in that, and as I step into that relationship with myself in that masculine creative aspect, you know, then I get the capacity coming through to open more and more to my truth. And then that says, and then that's okay, I want to work with guys, and then okay, I want to work with guys who are living in service as I do, and I want to help them, empower them to step into their true selves and whatever role of leadership that looks like for them. So it goes on and unpacks and unpacks and unpacks, but that gives a flavor of what's coming through, and through doing this. So endlessly
Yeah.
grateful for this work. Absolutely.
Awesome. And you made a couple of really good points, Jason. And the first one was, you realized, where's my focus? So you were focusing on, can I do this? Is there enough of me? Is there enough people that want this? There's so much competition. We can all get into all that stuff. And then you went, where's my focus? My focus is on what I actually would love to create, which is great. And the other thing you noticed, you mentioned, the other great point you made was that someone pointed it out to you, right? And sometimes it does take another person, ideally, as we grow and learn and develop in this work, in this orientation, we become more and more self-responsible, which is a lot of what today is about. However, it's the truth that other people see us in a way that we don't allow ourselves to see ourselves. So that's beautiful. Thanks, Jason. Thanks for the share. And let's hear from Judy. Hey, Jude, how are you?
Hi, thank you, Beata. So a couple of things I've really noticed in relation to relationships is the relationship I have with myself is when I get triggered, I can, unless I want to just stay in the fun, which occasionally I have to say I do, but most of the time now I just go, this is related to that. Got it. And then it's just like the dragon goes to sleep. And so I found that I'm much calmer and more peaceful. And when things come up, I can attend to them very quickly, which is just so empowering. The other thing is I'm finding, because I'm lucky enough that my husband, he's doing mastery as we speak. And so we're both on the same path, as I know you and Ed are. And so therefore we can pick each other up. So something happened last Saturday night and I said to Scott, okay, so what belief was that? This is what I'm picking up. And he goes, yeah. And it just takes the heat out of it all. So in relation to relationships, this is just really enhancing. Thank you.
Yeah, beautiful. Thanks for sharing, Judy. I love it. The dragon goes to sleep. So you found the magic potion, right? You just twinkle it, and yeah. And of course, the relationship with yourself. It's so big. It's such a big one. I think everyone here is probably starting to realize, even if you've only just started to unfold the depth of this work, or realize the depth of this work, you can see that relationship with yourself and your greatness is really at the core of it. And that's really what, if anyone wants to pop in the chat, what else you got, because we really only have time for a few shares, but I'd love to see just a few people pop in the chat. Anything, if you didn't get to share, pop it in the chat. What have you got out of this work so far in relation to relationships, or how have things shifted? And there's two reasons for it. One is that people will scroll through it. It'll scroll through and people get to see it, and you get to be witnessed in your development and in your growth. And also by typing it, by writing it, the same as in speaking it, you get to acknowledge it. You get to concretize what's going on and acknowledge it. And we know that acknowledging the things that happen, the results of applying the work, the results of using your will in situations that come up in your everyday life, is what really propels you forward. Now, it's really, I find it absolutely invaluable to really stop and acknowledge every time something shifts. Go, wow, okay, that shifted. Because we all know that this stuff is really easy, right? It's obvious. It is the obvious. It is the stuff that we all know, but it's not always simple. So often you do have to use your will to really take that step, take that vulnerable step, or have that uncomfortable conversation, right? And it's in those times that you acknowledge how things are shifting, that you're giving your subconscious the message that it's worth it, right? This shit works. That's what you're really saying. It's like, this stuff works. It's worth holding that tension. It's worth staying with it. It is what's going to get me to the true end result, as opposed to the resolving the tension, the quick fix, the quick feel good kind of solution, which we egoically tend to go for. So when I got this theme, because I do, when I run sessions, I often ask for the theme. So it'll either come as a bridge or it'll come in my spirit guidance. And that's what I got, relationships. And it really was the obvious, because Judy mentioned my partner, Ed, who's here on the call, who's my co-host. We run a group called Families in Flow, and it really is this, relationships is something that's always been at the core of my genius, I guess. So just a little bit about me. When I was a kid, I had a childhood that was really interesting. We moved around a lot. I was born in Eastern Europe, and I was born to parents that were very different in, I guess, in nature to how I was, right? So I spent a lot of my childhood observing how people are and what they do, and wondering, why do they do things? So to get into the area of relationships was just the natural flow on from that. And this work has been an amazing next level growth, because I can really see how relationships can flow, how you can find that real natural, easy flow within any relationship. Right? And when I talk about relationships, what I want to talk about here isn't just the person-to-person, partner, husband, wife, that type of lover relationship. We're talking about relationships with parents, because even if you don't have a partner, we've all got parents. Even if you don't have kids, you've got parents, you might have siblings. And even if you were an orphan or you don't know your parents, you have relationships all around you, right? There are people in your life that you're having relationships with all of the time. So that's one aspect of it. Now, the one thing that I realized coming into the natural success work is that the relationships that we have with ourselves and with other people follow a particular pattern, right? For those of you that have done alchemy, you've seen the dysfunctional pattern, and for those of you who have done mastery, you might have done that, the dysfunctional attention transformation system. So we know that whenever we go for something and we don't get it, we follow a specific pattern. And the great thing about relationships is they are absolutely the best way of bringing up our shit, of bringing up our stuff. Like, there is no better way to bring our dysfunctional patterns up to the surface, right? So this is why I think it's an important topic, because really the level of your success in anything is largely determined by the quality of your relationships. And you'll get a little insight, a little toe in the water in this masterclass. We've got an hour and a bit. So by the end, I expect that you'll have a bit of an insight into why that is. And why is it important to talk about relationships? It's because it really determines who you are. It determines how you are in the world. It's a reflection of how you interact with everything around you, right? So relationships in every sense, but especially person-to-person relationships, evoke strong emotion. There's no two ways around it. And we know that emotions drive your decisions, right? And then your decisions drive your actions. So what better way to get to the depth and to really find those key ways of becoming self-responsible and finding ways to creating what you would love than through insight into your relationships. I'm just going to share my screen for a moment here, because there's a quote that I absolutely love from Ram Dass, who's a spiritual leader who's now deceased. Don't know if all of you know Ram Dass or of Ram Dass. But this is what Ram Dass said before he passed away not so long ago. If you think you are enlightened, go spend a week with your family. Right? And that is the truth of it, right? It's absolutely the best way to go, okay, you know, that there are so many times that I think, yeah, I'm doing great in life. I'm doing awesome. I'm rising above it all and all of that. And ironically, I'm at my parents' place right now. You know, I'm here for 3 days. It's just the way I got guidance to be here right now. And here I am running this session at my parents' place. And it's so easy to notice, right? When things rise up. And yes, I can rise above it, but far out, you know, things rise up to here. So I'm having to rise up to here, not just your normal, yeah, I'm rising above it. So the relationships evoke strong emotion, which then if you're not careful, if you're not aware, if you're not following the structure of Nigredo, Albedo, and then Rubedo, which is, for those of you who haven't done all of the trainings, Nigredo is the stuff that comes up. You know, how do you react in a situation? What's your go-to reaction? Albedo is the rising above. It's the conflict deconstruction. Coming up here, what would you love? And then the important thing is the Rubedo, which is the action. Do you take the action that your greatness tells you? Or do you take the action from your egoic response, from your buttons that have been placed there very early in life by the very people that you might be interacting with right now? So this is one reason that I think that this is a really important topic, and one reason why I believe, I know that the level of your success is absolutely determined by the quality of your relationships, right? Because relationships bring up all those emotions, which drive your decisions, which then drive your actions. So if you don't have a good relationship with your relationships, as a result, your actions are going to come from the wrong place. It's also the place where we often tend to keep things under the carpet. You know, we have this tendency to sweep things under the carpet because of the consequences, right? So if ideally as a creator, you want to be in integrity, right? But when it comes to relationships, especially person-to-person relationships, and especially if those people are close to you, it's so easy to sweep things under the carpet. It's so much easier to not be in integrity and to just kind of not be in the truth, right? And it's so tempting. It's so there. So there's the tension, there's so much at stake. And the other thing is that, you know, when it comes to relationships, and especially the relationship choices, it's so easy to bring in the negative vision and condition into that choice. Because again, there's so much potential for tension and pain, and our ego wants to avoid that. It goes, hey, you know, tension, I've heard that tension's good, but let's have this amount of tension, and this relationship or this choice is bringing me this amount of tension, so I don't really want that, right? So all of that happens. So if you can have a great relationship with your relationships, then your level of creativity or your level of ability to create is going to be up here. Now, the other reason is, there's two other reasons that I thought, yeah, this is really why it's an important topic. And the next one is, and I kind of touched on it just then, that, you know, if your relationship with your greatness isn't healthy, then you're always going to oscillate. You're always going to pull yourself back a little bit. right? So there's relationships with other people. There's the relationship with your relationship choice. And there's a relationship that you have with yourself, but more importantly, there's a relationship that you have with your greatness. Maybe just take a moment to tap into that, to tune into what kind of relationship do you have with your greatness? Because, you know, the relationship that I had with my greatness for a very long time was kind of like that new boyfriend that you kind of go, yeah, I don't really want to bring him home to my family yet. You know, I don't really want to introduce him to my friends yet. He's a bit too much. He's a bit too ostentatious. He's a bit too, you know, I have to teach him how to behave amongst my friends before I bring him into the group. Right? And that's absolutely, until I realized it, well, I didn't know it until I realized it. And then when I realized that, I could see it showing up in so many areas of my life, going far out. I've got this relationship with my greatness where I actually want to kind of hide it or just stifle it a little bit, right? And then I went, what am I doing? How on earth can I possibly create the full expanse of what I'm here to create if I have this relationship with my greatness? If I'm kind of going, oh, don't be so great. So I'm just going to give you just 10, 20, 30 seconds to tap into, you know, if your greatness was a person, if the truth of your greatness was a person, what would your relationship be? Would you introduce them to your friends? Would you try to control them a bit and go, oh, hang on, you know, you can't say that. Yeah, what's it like? And pop it in the chat and we'll have just 1 or 2 shares about that. Petra, straight up with your hand up. What did you get?
Because for me it was quite the same. It was like I always hide it a little bit and always would keep it a little bit withdrawn to myself and not showing my whole greatness.
Mm. Yeah, good one. Yeah, I'm great, but not that great. You know, I'm allowed to be great, exactly. But not that great. Yeah.
And when I'm alone, I can feel my greatness totally. But when I'm with others, it's like, okay, not too much, you know, like this. Yeah.
Absolutely. Yes. Will it be accepted? What will they say? And all of that.
Yeah.
Yep. Will they tell me that it's not the right greatness for me? You know, if I'm using the boyfriend analogy or girlfriend analogy, you know, will they tell me that they're going to screw me over? Will the people tell me that it's going to lead me down the wrong path? Because that's another thing, you know, if I'm following my greatness and following my guidance and following my bridges, to other people, it can really look like an absolute the most stupid thing you could do, right? The most stupid bit of advice you could possibly follow. Yeah. Yeah, thanks for that share, Petra. It's not real, my imaginary friend. Yep. Yeah, thanks, Sally. You're just watching the chat. So let's have one more share in words. Who else would like to share? Now, Ed, I'm going to just ask you, please, because I can only see half the people. Can you see if there's a hand up? Who else wants to share? And if not, can you read out a couple of the things in the chat for us?
Yep, we've got Polly and Mary to share.
All right, thank you. Polly and then Mary.
Well, hello everybody, and I'm glad that I'm here with you. What I tapped into was that I see my greatness as something very unknown and as if I'm lower level and I cannot, we are not at the same level and I cannot be there with my greatness, as if it's on a pedestal and now I'm lower and I'm afraid even to bother the greatness, to be there, as if I'm unworthy to be around that greatness.
Beautiful and perfect. I'm glad you shared, Polly. That was beautiful, because so many people do that. Like there's not a connection. It's like there's me, and there's my greatness, but they're not the same person. They're not the same entity, right? So we see ourselves as removed from our greatness, or something that we have to climb towards, or something that we have to achieve, and we don't realize that it's us. Thanks, Polly. And Mary.
Yeah, even though I've had to drag myself here this morning. So the resistance, yeah, distance, yeah, but I think fear, a fear of the intimacy, or fear of embracing it, and therefore keeping it at a distance. And like you say, the disconnect between me and my greatness, afraid to even acknowledge it.
Yeah.
Even speaking this morning, I can feel that fear coming up.
Yeah. And thank you for being here. Congratulations for saying, oh, here, resistance, come with me. Let's go to this thing together, right? Because that's what we've got to do with it.
Anyway,
Say
thank
that
you
again.
for having it. Even though I was awake from early, and I kind of thought, oh, I'm going to go back to sleep.
Yeah, and the excuses that we can make, and it's so easy. Beautiful. Thanks, Mary. And yeah, fear, it's such a big one. Fear of the greatness. What would it mean, right? What would it mean to have this? What would it mean to be this great? It's all there. And the important thing is, thank you, Mary. And I won't read out the things in the chat so we can keep moving. But you can all, I'm hoping that many of you are having a look at that, so that for those of you that shared, thank you very much. That's awesome that you can concretize and acknowledge what's coming up for you there. And for those of you that read it, thank you for witnessing that. So that's the thing, you know, we can talk about the relationship with our greatness. And if that's not great, if it's not healthy, then you're always going to oscillate. You're always going to pull yourself back a little bit. You're always going to pull back from the fullness of what you're here to create. You're going to stifle it. You're going to stifle your own creation. You're going to expand and then feel that fear, and you're going to burst the balloon, or whatever your pattern is. You might burst the balloon, you might sabotage it, you might let go of the balloon so it goes off somewhere, you know, it's suddenly a helium balloon. Whatever it is, you're going to stuff it up. So it's great to know what your relationship with greatness is. And the other reason, there is a third reason why this topic of relationships is really important, right? Because why do any of us want a relationship? Who here has a relationship choice? I just want to see who has a relationship choice. Okay. So lots of people have a relationship choice, and some of you might have a relationship at the moment, might be in a relationship, some of you might not be. But why do we ever want a relationship? Why do we make a relationship choice? Why do we want a relationship with, whether it's a partner, or why do we want a good relationship with our kids, our parents, with other people? Who wants to have a go? Why do you want a relationship? Mary?
Connection, intimacy.
Mm-hmm. And what does that give you? So if you have connection and intimacy, what does it give you? Why do you want connection and intimacy?
Yeah, a feeling of all being well, but it's the being one with everything.
Yeah, thanks, Mary. I just saw Polly's hand pop up. So Polly, what's your take on it?
To gain energy, to exchange energy.
Okay. Okay, yes, that can be a bit of negative vision there, which we'll talk about in a moment, like a bit of an expectation. But yes, and Claire, I saw your hand pop up.
Yeah, I was thinking also about safety, actually. Support and safety.
Yeah. So again, that can be, and we'll talk about that in just a moment. There can be that thing where we want a relationship because of what we think we're going to get out of it, right? But the truth is that we want a relationship because we want to feel love, isn't it? Why do you want a great relationship? Because of the feeling inside you, because of how you feel when you feel supported and safe, because of how you feel when you feel connected and at one with everything, right? And that's the feeling of that love, not in the romantic sense, but in the sense of just feeling love inside. Right? And when we can get in touch with this feeling of love, like think about if you've been in love, right? Or if you've had a child and you feel the love for a child or grandchild, or you've seen a baby and or you've been in a beautiful place and you just go, wow, and you feel that feeling of love, right? That's a creative force. Because just think, how does it feel? It feels expansive. It feels like nothing can get you down. It feels like you can handle anything, right? There's love and fear can't coexist. So the other reason why this is an important topic is that really to be in touch with that feeling of, whatever goes on, whatever happens in life, I can handle it. That's what gives you that feeling of strength, of power. You're ready, you're willing, you're ready to take life on in its fullest, and you're ready to step into your greatness. And also, any success, anything that you achieve, it's going to be empty if you don't feel the love inside you, if it wasn't a true end result. This is why we make choices, right? This is why we go to the land of plenty. Get rid of all the false end results that our ego tells us we want or need or whatever. We go to the land of plenty because that's where we get in touch with our greatness and with the truth of who we are. And we get in touch with that feeling of love. And it's that feeling of love that helps us create and truly step into our greatness. So that's the topic. Now, of course, because relationships bring up our stuff, I've seen, I've worked with people for a long time, and I've been in the field of relationships officially for about 3 or 4 years, but unofficially for the 25 years before that, when I was working as a behavioral optometrist, because just about every session, once I opened my own practice and had long consultations with people, just about every session turned into a consulting session, turned into a coaching session. So I've been working with people in relationships and have had an interest in it for a very long time. And having this natural success structure has really shown me how people screw themselves over. Like it's so easy. It's so easy to fall down that pit. And the thing that I really notice is that the themes of their relationship dysfunction carry through everything else in their life. Like I said, that pattern carries through everything. Every single choice, when I work with coaching clients, if we work on the relationship choice, it's often the one that kind of gets avoided because it's especially if someone's new to the work, and it kind of gets avoided because it's just so in your face. But if we start to work on the relationship choice, wow, the insights that come through and the depth of insights, because there's such depth of emotion that comes through, and the connection to every single other choice becomes so obvious so quickly. Okay, so someone shared before about, it was Jason we were talking about how somebody else pointed things out to him, Karen pointed things out to him. So it is great to have other people in the work with you. However, I'm also about self-responsibility. That's the other side of it. And what I'm hoping that you'll get out of this session is just that ability to look at how you do relationships, what your relationships are with other people, you know, what your dysfunction is. And then what I hope for you is that you'll be able to then take that and look at all your other choices, anything else that's not happening in your life and that's not flowing. You can then look at the dysfunction that you notice in your relationships and see, okay, how is this manifesting in this choice or this other choice? Okay, so these are some of the ways that I see quite commonly that people will or screw themselves over. I don't know how else to put it, you know, by having dysfunctional relationships with relationships. So, for example, we can do things like make up stories why we don't have a relationship. Like I often see that, or I'm okay like this. I don't really want a relationship, right? Or I don't have a relationship because blah blah blah. Or they might be in a relationship, or they kid themselves about it. You know, so it's really easy. Like I said before, it's in relationships. It's so easy to sweep things under the carpet, because of the tension that it brings up when we look at it, when we look at the truth of it. So people often tend to not admit the truth of what's going on. And it can be from both angles. It can be that the relationship feels right to them. You know, they kind of feel like, yeah, this relationship's true for me, but everyone else around them is telling them that it's not, that there's something wrong with it, you know, that it's not the right partner or whatever. Or they egoically think, oh, but it's not what I wanted. You know, it feels so true for me, but it's not what I wanted. I wanted someone who's more set up, or I wanted someone who's like this or like that. So we do that to ourselves. Or they look at their partner and go, yeah, they're a good person. They're a good partner. I should be happy, but I'm not. So what's wrong with me? You know, or what's wrong? What am I doing wrong? Right. So then they often go around trying to fix. Or the same thing can happen if they lose the feeling of love. So they're in a relationship, they go through the honeymoon period, and then it's not there. So then they'll look to the other person. They look to, you know, why aren't you providing me with things that make me feel that love? Or the other, depending on your personality, you might be looking at yourself and going, what am I doing wrong? What do I need to fix about me or about the other person? And the moment that you start looking for what's wrong and looking at it either externally or trying to look at what do I need to fix, you're on the wrong track. You've lost the game. Right? And I've got a few others, but I'm just going to pause there so that you can just reflect on the ones that I've mentioned and reflect on other places in your choices that you're doing the same thing. Right? So the first one I mentioned was if you don't have a relationship, people make up stories about why they don't have it, right? Or why they're happy like it is. So if that choice hasn't manifested, is there an element where you're kind of going, oh, you know, maybe I don't really want it, or I don't have it because it's I'm not that type of person, you know, that kind of thing. I was in a session, I'll give you an example just while you're reflecting. I was in a session with William the other day, and I have a writing choice. And of course, William's written these books, you know, and he's shared how they just, especially the Magician's Way, just literally magically went viral, you know, in the book sense. And what we uncovered in the current reality of my writing choice, that I was telling myself that, no, I can't do that because I'm not William. William's so much more outgoing than I am. So it's never going to happen for me. All right. So I was telling myself a story about why I don't have that. And then I'd go into, oh, but I don't really need to be as famous as William. You know, my book doesn't have to be as, you know, so there's me minimizing my choice based on what I believe. I'm making up a totally crap bullshit story about it. Right. And I noticed the same about relationships. I've actually,
Beata, we've
don't know
lost
what.
you.
I don't
Yeah.
know why my camera suddenly turned off. I'm glad I noticed. You know, and it's that there was a time when I actually thought, oh, I don't really want a relationship. I don't need a relationship. Life's easier without it. Right. So there's these stories that we can make up where we'll have a choice and then go, do I really want that choice? Maybe my life's easier without it. Beata, could you please clarify more on what you mean by relationship choice? Oh yes, so when you go into your land of plenty, you know, did you have a relation? Was there a relationship there? Was there a partner in your land of plenty? And there doesn't need to be. But when I ask, do you have a relationship choice? That's what I'm referring to, Shalab, is basically a choice around, you know, I choose the end result of a expansive, open, heart opening, whatever relationship. So that's what I mean. So continuing on, hopefully you've had a bit of time to reflect on those things. So I'll give you a couple more examples of how I've seen people really minimize or find egoic ways to screw themselves over because of their relationship to relationships. So you might have a picture or can you give an example of connection between relationship choice to other choices? Yeah, hopefully that will come out in what I'm about to say, Shalab. And if you're still feeling like you haven't quite got it right at the end, we'll have some shares at the end, so we'll address it then. Yeah, so you might have a story or a picture of what a great relationship is, right? But it's egoic. It's not from your land of plenty. So you go, a good relationship is when my partner treats me like this, or when I feel like this, or when we get to go on holidays all the time. You know, so you might have this idea, an egoic idea of how a relationship should look. And then you go about trying to force that outcome, which is very different to being in the feeling of the end result. Right? So that's another way that you can actually have an egoic relationship to relationships. Or what I also see, that here's another good one, is people make excuses for what's going on in their social life. All right, so they'll go, oh no, I don't have many friends because I'm an introvert, or I don't have many friends because I'm shy, right? So they would love to have lots of friends, but they go, oh no, it's because of this, it's because of that, right? And again, we can do the same thing with all your other choices. Oh, I don't have this because, like I just said, with my writing choice, right? Oh no, my book's never going to be that famous because I'm not as outgoing as William, and I would never approach a random editor, right? You know, whatever it is. So just again, reflect, what are some of these stories that you're telling yourself? What are some of these things that might apply to you in relation to relationships, or in relation to your choices, or even in relation to your greatness? And just while you're doing that, I'm going to hop up and turn some more lights on because the sun's gone down, so I'll be right back. All right, and the last one I'll mention is often what we do is we try to use relationships, right? So it's come up a little bit before with Claire's share, you know, I want safety. So we'll set expectation from relationship. We'll go, oh, what's in it for me? What do I need to get out of it? What does it need to give me for me to feel like it's been fulfilled, like it's the true end result? Or we might use friends or partners or family to collude, so we have a problem and we go, oh, I want someone there so they can listen to me or so they can confirm that what I'm saying is right, So quite often we will use relationships with either partners or with friends or family to resolve our tension, right? So again, that's a dysfunctional relationship with relationship. That's a dysfunctional way of a dysfunctional attitude, if you like, to relationships. So we set these expectations, we put pressure on them. Or you might, this is one of mine that often comes up, is we think that there's an expectation on us. That I'll go, oh no, I don't want that relationship, or I don't want too many friends, because then they'll be asking things of me, right? So in my dysfunction, in my ego, I'll tend to remove myself and become an introvert. It's not my truth. In my greatness, I'm not an introvert at all. But in my ego, I become an introvert because I think egoically that relationships will drain me, that I'll have to give energy when it comes to a relationship, right? So there's many, many dysfunctional ways that we can do relationships. So what you'll get a little bit taste of by the end of the session is a bit of a cleanup of your relationship with relationships, right? Because what we want is to have clean relationships on all levels. We want our relationships to be clean. We want that relation, whether it's with a person or with your choice or with your greatness, we don't want that stuff in there. We don't want that egoic stuff. We don't want those expectations or excuses or stories. It's just not going to work. You're not going to create the truth of what you're here to create. So I'm going to take you through a little process, and then we'll have a few shares, and then we'll do the functional part of relationships, okay? But I'm just going to take you through a little process. So I'll just invite you to make yourself comfy. You just feel your bottom on whatever you're sitting on, or your feet on the ground. So just really come into the space, come into yourself, and if it feels comfortable, close down your eyes, or you can keep them open. It's up to you. And I'm just going to put forward an imaginary scenario. Okay, so imagine that you're planning a dinner party. Imagine that you've invited some of your friends, some of your dear friends. You've got the table set up. You've got the menu worked out. You've bought all the ingredients. There's flowers on the table, and you've got your nice clothes. And these are your dear friends, these are people that you really feel great with, and you're just so looking forward to this. You just cannot wait. And you're just getting to the point of chopping the veggies or whatever you've got prepared. You turn the water on and you realize that your hot water's not working. So you do a few things. You just sort of try the kitchen tap. You go to the bathroom tap, you turn the hot water on, and there's no hot water. It's just gone. How do you react? What's going on for you? Just take notice. But don't jot things down just yet, but just notice. If there's some thoughts you want to jot down, then do so, but we'll keep going. But just notice what's going on for you at this point. What are your thoughts? What are your feelings? What's going on inside you? What do you want to do? What are some of the actions you want to take? Are you calm and then you suddenly start to get frantic? Are you ringing everybody, getting their opinion? You start to cry, bank pillows? Do you try and rise above it and pretend like everything's okay? Are you going, damn it, I can't even have a shower, I'm going to smell? Do you cancel the party? Just take a moment. What's going on? You've had this party planned for weeks. Everything's set up. They're supposed to be arriving in a couple of hours and you've got no hot water. And now just imagine that it suddenly comes to you, whatever state you're in, it suddenly occurs to you that you have a friend whose husband's a plumber. And you know he's really busy, okay? He's booked a long way ahead. But you know a plumber, you know someone who knows a plumber. And as this occurs to you, again, just take notice. What do you want to do? Do you call your friend or do you not? Why? What are you thinking? What are you feeling? What are you wondering? What assumptions are you making? What expectations are you having? Are you thinking, oh, he won't be available anyway, I don't want to bother him, you know? Are you at that end of the scale? Or are you thinking like, well, she's my best friend, like she's my good friend, she's coming to the party, he should drop everything and come out? Do you expect to pay? Do you expect to pay more than his usual rate because it's an emergency, right? Or do you expect to pay less because you're a friend? Or do you expect to pay nothing? And also, would you call him directly or do you expect your friend to pull some strings for you? Now, what would you do in that situation? You've planned this dinner party, there's no hot water, you have a friend whose husband's a plumber, but he's very busy and you know he's booked well ahead, right? So there's something you wanted and all of a sudden there's a glitch. And again, just take notice of what goes on. What are your thoughts? What are your feelings, expectations, assumptions, story? And now just imagine that you do call your friend or she calls you and you happen to mention it, or you call the plumber. Anyway, somehow you get onto the plumber and they say, oh yeah, he'll be there in 15 minutes. All right, so just imagine that and take notice of what happens for you there. So it's arranged that this plumber is going to arrive in 15 minutes and sort everything out. And now just imagine that it's now been 45 minutes, so an hour till the guests arrive, and he hasn't turned up. He's not there. Again, what are your thoughts? What are your feelings? What do you want to do? Here we're looking for the stuff under the surface, you know, not the socially acceptable rising above response, but what's really going on. Really be truthful about what goes on when a situation like that comes up. Be self-responsible, get truthful with yourself. Now you're thinking, I knew he'd let me down, shouldn't have asked. This always happens, you know, tradies are always late, you can't trust people, you know, are you at that end? Don't have time for this. You know, some people might even go, oh, I should never have tried to organize a dinner party, like nothing ever works out for me. You know, where do you go with this? Where do you take it? What's the egoic stuff that comes up? Okay, now when you're ready, just open your eyes and just jot down a few things. And it's only a short masterclass, so we won't have time to go fully deeply into this, but just jot down a few things of what did you notice about yourself? Was it easy to be truthful? And what was the truth of what you noticed? Alternative ways to get around it rather than egoic panic. Yeah, so going into problem-solving mode, Naina or Naina. Yeah, it's like, what can I do? How can I solve this, right? How can I make this better? Yep. What else? Who'd like to share? Who'd like to speak? And Ed, I'll ask you to just let me know if you see anybody. I see Sally Guest.
Hey, I
Hey,
always
Sally.
do the same thing. I expect things to go wrong and I just rise above them all the time, and I just keep calm and I say, well, don't really need a shower, I can have a wash, I'll sort this out tomorrow, I'll focus on my party. But then when I went deeper into it, because that is exactly what I would do, I would say, yeah, this happens, I'd laugh it off with my friends. Typical, this happened, you know, we knew it wasn't going to go right. But then really it's because I don't expect it to ever go right. I always expect it to mess up. I always just think, well, you know, why would anybody come out and help me today? I'm just insignificant. I'm not going to upset myself by people rejecting me. So I will pretend that's not happening and I won't even ask, because I don't want to face that rejection. I want to have a nice time. And so I will hide everything I feel and just focus on having a good time and just laughing about it and saying that's okay. And then the next day I will be, why is not somebody coming to get my shower done? And then the next day, then I'll go, oh, well, I'm just not worth it. And yeah, then everything else would come up then when I haven't got anything else to focus on.
Yeah.
Apart from caring.
So you put off the pain until later, right?
I put off the pain and I laugh about it because I've got people coming. And then when I'm on my own, then I'm sort of like, see, nobody's going to come and help me, are they? Nobody cares. I've put on all this, and she couldn't even offer for her husband to come round. And I'd give her a nice party. She should have offered. Yeah,
exactly. And thank you so much for being vulnerable and honest and truthful, right? Because that's the key, right? So often when it comes to relationships and this really those emotions that come up in relation to other people, they're the ones we don't want to admit to ourselves because we think, oh, that makes me such a bitch, right? How could I think that? That's not okay. It's bad to be a person that thinks that. But the thing is that if you don't acknowledge that's going on under the surface, then you can't neutralize the shadow. And what's the first step towards creating anything? Neutralize the shadow. So thank you for going under the surface. Thank you for going deep. And you know, you mentioned that you don't expect things to go right? And then you go, oh no, it wasn't going to happen anyway. And then you go into there was something you said that I wanted to comment on that I thought was a great point that I've just lost for a moment. Oh yes, you said, oh, I'll just have a wash, right? So then you go, okay, I can't have what I want, so I'm going to minimize it, right? And do you notice do you notice yourself doing that with your choices? Do you notice yourself? Yeah. So I bet there's a choice where you're going, oh, yeah, I'd love this. That was in my land of plenty, but it probably won't happen. It's probably going to go wrong. So I'll just have a wash. I'd love a hot shower, but I'll just, you know, and it's just, I'll settle for something lesser.
Yeah. I've just actually done that with finances. I would like to be able to support myself, but I only need this much money.
Yeah, there you go.
So I'm now focused on this tiny little bit of money because that's all I need, instead of
Yeah, where's your focus?
So I minimize things. Yeah, cool.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So perfect share. Thank you, Sally, because yeah, you're the perfect person to share. I'm glad I saw you, because that's exactly what's going on here, right? It's what we do with this situation. How you do one thing is how you do everything, right? And that's why I said at the start that if you can be honest and truthful about what happens for you when it comes to human relations, then you can see how you're screwing over all your other choices, because it's so obvious. And if you think about it, this little scenario was really mild, right? It was quite removed. It wasn't a challenging type of scenario. So it was a good one because it allows you to go into that depth of what you're actually feeling and thinking. So thanks, Sally. Ed, was there? Let's do one more person.
Martine also had her hand up.
Thanks, Ed. Martine, where are you? Can't see you yet. How are you?
Good. Actually, I sort of went into a different experience, and probably because it actually did happen to me yesterday, but I wasn't doing a dinner party. It was just that the plumber had been here and forgotten to put the PowerPoints back on, and so I didn't have any hot water, and it worked out. But when I took myself into that scenario, I started going through some of the work that I've learned, and I guess I've been doing more of this, where I asked myself in that situation, what's the worst case scenario here? What's the worst that can happen here? And then letting my mind run wild with what the worst case scenario could be, and then saying like something along the lines of, I accept that exists. I accept that it exists. I accept that it's there. And look, if people have to wash their hands with cold water tonight, then okay. And that I'll separate the situations. Like my focus is that these people have this lovely meal. I can still cook it. We can still enjoy ourselves. And then I still do have a thing that I've got to manage, but I'm not going to try and diffuse the whole thing now, or sort of dilute the whole situation of the dinner party, and sort of putting it in a certain way of thinking about it was what was coming up for me. I definitely felt some panic around it, definitely when that first happened, and you sort of your heart drops down into your boots. Oh my God, no. But then actually sitting with that, okay, what's really happening here? These are conditions, something along those lines. That kind of stuff was coming up.
Beautiful. Thanks, Martine. Yeah, that's magic that happened to you yesterday, because that scenario occurred to me yesterday about this time, and I was like, oh, that's a brilliant example. I wonder if I felt you. I just thought, wow, I just saw this movie of this happening, going, wow, I'm going to put that in the masterclass. So thank you for providing the fodder for this masterclass, Martine, and thank you for your share. So exactly, right? So there's the egoic way of engaging with anything, whether it's a person or a choice or just an end result of having a dinner party, is to go into problem-solving mode, or trying to think things through, or dealing with all that stuff that comes up for you, right? So that thing of, what will my friend think? What will people think? What if the party doesn't work out? Blah, 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 blah. And really, all you need to do is go, what would I love? What's the end result, right? And the end result isn't actually the dinner party, is it? It's not about the dinner. It's about having that time with your friends. And the thing is that the end result that we always want, the thing that we would love, is always, it's not the thing that we want. It's what it gives you. It's the feeling that you get from it, it's the wonderful feeling that you get from spending that time with friends. And if you have to go and get takeaway, whatever it is, it doesn't matter. But just coming in, applying the structure, is what allows you to step out of the ego and into creating the thing that you'd love, the end result, which is the feeling of the end result, which is very different to the emotions of what's going on here and now. And here's my point, that often, when it comes to relationships, whether it's with a partner, a family member, parent, sibling, kids, a friend, a work person, whatever it is, or even next door neighbor, when it comes to relationships, it's so easy to go into our ego. It's so easy to go into that thing of how should this look? What does a good neighbor look like? What does a good neighbor do? How does a good neighbor behave? What are the conditions? What do I want from a partner? Once upon a time, I wrote a list, A4 page of what I wanted out of a partner. I went through a bit of my personal story. I went through a divorce about a few years ago. And after that, I went, no, I don't want a relationship unless the person meets all these criteria, right? I had this list of criteria, and I won't share the rest of my story, but the day that I wrote that list, I actually met my current partner, Ed, but that's a story for another time. But the thing is that I had this absolutely egoic list, right? And so often we put all these conditions on our relationships, on the people, on how they have to be, on how we need to be, who we need to be, how we have to behave. And it's egoic. All of it is egoic. Because the moment that you're putting conditions on a relationship, a person, a choice, or whatever it is, your greatness, it's got to give me this. On alchemy, on natural success work, I'm going to do this work, I'm going to make my choices, but it's got to deliver. I better be a millionaire by this time next year. We put all these expectations on and have all these conditions there, which are actually stopping us from creating the thing that we love. I'm pausing because I can see lots of people writing, lots of people reflecting. So I'm just going to give you that bit of time to assimilate what that is. But the truth is that all of those things that you notice. So if you've got a list of things that you'd like in a partner, or if you have a mental or written list of things that you want magic to deliver for you, or a list of things that your home needs to give you, I want to feel safe, or I want to feel nurtured in my relationship. Actually, that I'm going to just strike that, because the way that I worded it can be a bit confusing for anyone that's early in the work. So yes, I need my partner to be successful and someone trustworthy and loving, and nurturing. So if you have this list of conditions, or I need my home to be really large and to show how successful I am, all of those things that might be in there, some of them might be really obvious, but some of them might be hidden under the surface. Just take notice. And if you don't think they're there, if you haven't done your choices with somebody else, and you don't think those things are there, then I encourage you to look at one of your relationships, and go, okay, what comes up for me in my relationships? And how is that pattern showing up in my choices? So what are some of the things that I want from a partner? Or what are some of the expectations I have on my kids, on my parents, or my friends? and have a look at your choices and go, am I transferring the same attitude, the same expectations, the same stories onto my choices? Because the truth is that what you actually want from your relationship, from that dinner party, from your land of plenty, is the feeling that it gives you, right? You want to feel your greatness. You want to bring your heart into the world. You want that feeling of love, of connection, of being one with everything. Often when you have a home choice, it's that feeling of safety. It's my home. It's somewhere where I can always be, where I can be myself. Right? So what's that? What's being myself? It's living my greatness, isn't it? So that's all you ever want. I'm going to take you through another little process just for, I don't know, let's just take a few minutes, and then we'll have a few shares to finish off and to concretize it. Okay, so again, just feel the surface you're sitting on and feel your body, feel your feet on the ground. Just bring yourself into the space, bring yourself into presence, into that space of innocence. And now just imagine that you've been that blue mist, that you've just popped out in your land of plenty, and there you are, your land of plenty. It's all there. The home, your purposeful work, whatever people are there, like it's all there, right there, and you're in it. Okay, and you've got past that point of feeling separate from it. It's no longer something you have to achieve or strive for, or aim for, or strive for, or aim for. You're just there, or it's come here to you. It's surrounding you. You're surrounded by your land of plenty, right here, right now. All your choices are fulfilled, and you're excited about your next lot of choices. You're excited about what life is about to bring you. And just notice the feeling inside you right now. Just notice how you feel. Take notice of that feeling and put a little bookmark there. Just anchor yourself in that feeling. Really revel in it, luxuriate in it. And now while you're in that feeling, just take away from your land of plenty, just imagine that your home disappears, but you still hold this feeling, right? Just notice that you have this feeling inside you, right here, right now. You've created it. And just notice that the home in your land of plenty could actually not be there. Or it could look different to how you imagine it, but you can still hold this feeling. And just notice that perhaps something else in your land of plenty could just not be there, but you can still hold this feeling. And just notice that the setting of your land of plenty doesn't actually have to be there for you to have this feeling. Okay, and just notice that creating, this is it. Right? You're creating your greatness. You're creating living from your heart. That's what you're creating. That's what your land of plenty is about. And notice that you can have this feeling of love, of greatness, of connection, whether you have a partner or not. Notice that you can have it and hold it regardless of what everyone and anyone else around you is doing or saying. Notice that this feeling is inside you, right? And this is your heart. So when William says that this is about bringing your heart into the world, it's about taking actions, getting your bridges, getting inspiration from this place. So just take another few seconds to really notice what this feels like and to really acknowledge and realize that you're not separate from your land of plenty. You're not separate from your choices. It's here because you can create this feeling inside you. And the reason that you want your land of plenty is to live in this feeling, to feel the wonder of life. Now again, just notice your feet on the ground right here, right now. Notice the surface that you're sitting on. Just feel the energy go up your spine, up your shoulders, up around your scalp, and just feel it rest right behind your eyes. And when you're ready on your next in-breath, just open your eyes and come into this Zoom space right here, right now. And hold that feeling. Right, so to finish off, I want to say a couple of things. So this is what creating is about. Right, it's about, I don't know how many of you have read William's post about the man that he knows that has a tattoo that says, be, do, have. Right, so whether you're talking relationships or anything else, any of your other choices, be, this is what be is. It's about evoking that feeling inside you. That's the be. Do, taking action from that place. That's where you get your obvious next steps. And through that, you have. So it's not about letting go of your land of plenty and going, no, I don't want that house anymore because I can feel great without it. It's not about doing that, going, I'll just have a wash, but I'd really love a shower. Sorry, Sally. But that was just the perfect example, right? So it's not about letting go of it, but it's about evoking that feeling first, then taking the obvious steps from that place, and then that beautiful partner appears, which is what happened with me and Ed, right? I was in that place and I was in a specific place within myself. And this man just appeared in my life out of absolutely nowhere, and then appeared again and again amongst a crowd of 10,000 people 3 times within 24 hours. There he was, and there he was, and there he was. And by the 3rd time we went, we should exchange phone numbers. So that's what this is about. That's what creating a great relationship or creating anything is about. Be, realize that it's already here. You can have that feeling whenever you like. Do, take action from that place, and then you will have, that's the magic, that the stuff just literally, when you're in that vibration, when you're in that frequency, the stuff literally just appears out of nowhere in ways that defy logic. Magic defies logic. That's my quote for the day. All right, so that's it for me. I would love a few shares to finish off. Let's have a few, and of course, love the chat, right? Because of course we can't all share here. I'm used to running 3-hour masterclasses at least. So this is a little bit of a stretch, but I hope that it managed to encapsulate what I wanted to get across, what I wanted you to experience in this session. So who'd like to share? Shalav?
Yeah, thank you. That was very powerful. Just to capture that sense of being, because we talk about it, making choices, being, and I was noticing I was going into, oh, what's the point, or going to patterns of, oh, it's going to take a lot of work and actioning. And so it's a beautiful balance between you already are that, you be that, and then from that action comes easily. It's not hard work or pushing or striving or proving. It's just a natural step. So yeah, very powerful. Yeah, thank you so much.
Beautiful. Thanks, Shalav. Yeah, and that was a great point, that from that place, action comes easily. Work doesn't feel like work. When you're in that place, it's like I can work for hours and I'm just loving it, right? It doesn't feel like work.
It's just joyful flowing from that super conscious space.
Absolutely. Yeah, when you create from your heart, it's just natural. Exactly. Thank you. Who else?
Mary's got her hand up.
I can see Mary. I was looking for someone who hasn't shared it. Did I see Jane?
Iswara.
Thanks,
Ishwarya. Can I share?
Yes.
It was really interesting that even this session, it was about relationships, and I experienced how my dysfunctional pattern in relationships. I had raised my hand earlier and it was not seen, and I felt that same sense of being a child not seen by my parents and then wanting to share, and it was all coming up. It was so useful to see even in this setting how it comes up, and my relationship with authority. In this case, you're running the session, but it was so easy to see how this is how I show up in relationships. And I wanted to share later, just get some message out, not even answering your question. And then I decided, they're not going to listen to me. And I mean, I didn't really decide that, but this is what my ego was saying. They're not going to hear, and I stopped sharing. So I thought, let me do it. Let me share and let me step out of the way my ego, defines things. But it was really funny.
And look what you created, right? You're sharing. And I'll share something with you, Ishwarya, because I've shared this in a few trainings, and I can relate absolutely. You know why? William happens to be a spitting image of my father, to look at him. So I've had that come up in so many trainings, right? When I first started in this work. It was crazy. It's just, but it's shit that comes up, right? And the moment that you can notice it, and the moment you neutralize that ego, the moment you go, oh, there's my pattern. I know my pattern so well now. There it is. And you bring it with you, you neutralize it and go, oh, okay, yep, I see it. And you let go of that trying to force, and you let go of buying into that stuff. Bang, there you go. You create the exact end result that you wanted. Yeah. Beautiful. Thank you. Awesome share. Let's have a couple more. We've got time for a couple more. Surely everyone's not intimidated by me being the leader of the
Irene and Jason.
It's funny though, isn't it? I mean, I'm just like one of you, right? But because I'm leading the session, there's this thing of, oh, what will they say? What will happen? All right, I did see some hands up, but now they've gone down. Just pop them up again so I can see. Irene and Marcus.
I just wanted to say from the start, Wouter, when you asked the question about what have we achieved so far since starting William Whitecloud stuff, and I think my one thing is really, and that is at the core of everything that we do here, it is self-awareness. It's amazing how much more of my ego I see, to the point where it's in my face all the time. So it's not pleasant, but you know what, it's not about it being a pleasant experience. It's about removing it so it doesn't come up again, or not removing it, but you know, dealing with it with the tools that we have. So I mean, even just with people talking, I've sort of identified a fair bit of my strategy with respect to something major that happened at work just before we broke up in this last week. And I thought, oh my God, and it's happened before, and it's happened before in exactly the same way. And that has occurred to me that, oh, but this just happened to me 2 years ago and blah, blah, blah. But what the work has done is to help me identify it as something that needs to be addressed. And I feel, even in this session today, you know, with respect to the stuff that I have noticed, I feel a major shift in my core. I feel it physically, you know, and I think, you know, that's, you feel having an understanding or an awareness or a tool like that, you can deal with life, and you can you know, I believe that I can be, and I am a creator, but it's not just a haphazard thing. You know, it gives it, like we say, like William says, you know, it gives it structure, and that gives security and stability to me. I know where to go. I know how to do it. I know the steps. And so, yeah, it takes the fear away of, oh my God, my ego is going to rear its ugly head again. Well, no, I know what to do with it.
That's it. You know what to do with it. And you said something, you know, get rid of it so it doesn't come up again. And then you corrected yourself. So I'll just speak to that. Yeah, it's about recognizing it so that you don't create the same result again, right? That's what it is. I knew that's what you meant, but I just thought I'd clarify. Yeah, absolutely.
And sorry, can I just say also that, you know, these things come up for us. You know, someone said, and I agree they do, but it's not like it's the first time they've come up for us. They don't come up for us just because we're in William Whitecloud's workshop or Bowder's workshop. They're always coming up for us. The difference is that now we see it. We recognize the shit that comes up now for shit, you know, if you'll pardon my French. So, and I don't know, it's a bit of a revelation, not a revelation, but yeah, I guess it is a bit. It's just the fact that we are able to see it now. That makes all the difference.
Yeah. And it is, I see Sandy, liberating. It is liberating. And it's also, you know, it's not easy. It's simple, but it's not easy.
Yeah.
Because looking at the truth of what's actually, you know, did I really have that thought? Am I really that type of person? You know, looking at the truth is challenging, but yes, so empowering, isn't it?
Yeah, and not making it mean anything. This is something I've also
exactly. It doesn't mean anything.
Yeah.
Just because you have those thoughts, or just because you created shit in the past, doesn't mean anything about you. Yeah, because you are your greatness, as we just experienced. You know, you can evoke that feeling whenever you want. Thanks, Irene.
Thank you.
And Marcus, take us out.
Just great doing a session after such a long time, and getting to see you and Ed and all these lovely faces here today. Technically tonight, this morning. And that push for like, are you lying to yourself? Are you not giving yourself the truth during that? And just being able to sit with that. It's like, yeah, because there's a part of you that is always going to be like, oh no, that's rational, like that's reasonable, and it's only based on those emotions that you have. And yeah, being able to be brought back to the land of plenty and be like, you can embody that, and that's that level part of who we are, is that greatness is our level. It's not the ego is like, you know, the shit that's drifting around out in space. We are the sun, and that's what we're here for. We're here to shine that light and show up. If we're not showing up, then we're just playing mind games with ourselves and running around in circles, doing the same madness that we have inflicted on ourselves over and over and over again. So yeah, really love it. And I love the ending of it too. Just thank you, Beata, for holding this session, and thank you everyone for holding such a beautiful space.
Awesome, Marcus. I feel like I want to bop with you. Are you on a bouncy ball?
Yeah, I'm on a yoga ball.
Let's all pop out of here.
Let's go.
All right, everybody, beautiful. So I'm just going to leave it open for one more minute. So if anyone would like to put stuff in the chat to concretize, to share, do it now. I won't read them, but it is nice, and I know that there are other people reading it. So if you'd like to do that, and while I've got that open, and for anyone to share that would love to, I just want to say thank you, everybody. It was a beautiful session. I hoped to bring the message, the core message out, and really it's about, you know, truth and love. Can you be truthful with yourself? Marcus, you put it perfectly. Can you be truthful? And Irene, can you be truthful with yourself? And can you evoke that feeling of love? And we all know that truth, love, pushes up wisdom, right? That's the alchemical structure. So here we are. Thank you for joining me, and I hope you all come around to lots of sessions at the Creators Academy. I think it's a beautiful, beautiful platform. And yes, I hope to connect with you again. I'm going to be in Mastery in November. So any of you that are coming to Mastery in November, I will see you there. Who's coming? Yay, awesome. Has anyone done Mastery before? Yeah, new Martine, yes, beautiful. So it's pretty awesome. So if you haven't done it, if you're thinking about it, it's one in November, and I'm sure there'll be more. But I think William said that the price is going up next year. So yeah, Mastery is just next level, absolutely the cherry on top. Anyway, hopefully I will see you before that. There's still lots of sessions between now and then. So have a great evening, day, morning, whatever, wherever you're at in the world, and see you again soon. And get creating with love. Bring your heart into the world. That's what we're here for. Feel it. Take care, everybody.